The adventure era of Sonic games brought us several new characters such as Chaos, Big, Gamma, Rouge, and the ever-popular Shadow. But one character from this era who often gets overlooked is Tikal the Echidna from the first Sonic adventure game.
I'm Tikal, and you are?
Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you may remember that I made a video about the version of her clan seen in the movie. But today, I want to further elaborate on Tikal's involvement throughout the franchise, her creation, and how she benefited the storytelling of Sonic games. This is an overview of the history of Tikal the Echidna, and why she is, in my opinion, the greatest female Sonic the Hedgehog character. In the early years of the franchise, at least outside of the Western media like comics and cartoons, the Sonic cast was primarily a boys-only club. All we had was Amy Rose, and even Honey the Cat was cut from the initial release of Sonic the Fighters. So it may surprise most people that Tikal was one of the earliest female game characters aside from them. Like Amy's introduction in Sonic CD, you don't get to play as Tikal, but she does provide a crucial role in the plot. She gives each of the 6 playable characters these Memento-style flashback sequences that provide context as to who Chaos is, as well as giving us insight into Knuckles' ancestral culture, the Knuckles Clan. She also serves as the game's hint system and guides each of the heroes along their journeys, which all intersect to stop Chaos from bringing the world to ruin under Dr. Robotnik's command. But before we talk about the resolve to that, we need to go back. All the way back, not to the creation of Tikal herself, but rather the idea of the character, which is actually older than you may think. One of the most obscure Sonic the Hedgehog related pieces of media ever is this one-issue French comic called Sonic Adventures in the Clutches of Dr. Robotnik, which was released in October of 1994 to coincide with the release of Sonic & Knuckles. Although Knuckles himself doesn't appear in the comic, echidnas do feature in it prominently. After a skirmish with Robotnik, Sonic and Tails end up in a city in the middle of the jungle populated by a tribe of echidnas, who capture them and take them to the tribe's leader, Princess Solution. She immediately orders them to be executed by sending them down a long twisty slide that drops them into a volcano. Okay. Long story short, Robotnik captures Princess Solution, she bites her way out of his clutches, then she, along with Amy and Sonic, end up falling through a special ring. Sonic completes the special stage, Solution is impressed and gives Sonic the 7 Chaos Emeralds, he gets golden armor, which is supersonic, and that's about it. So like I said, Knuckles does not appear, but Princess Solution and the other members of the tribe do in fact have dual knuckle spikes, so it's clear that he was meant to be a part of this tribe. While Princess Solution does have some resemblance to Tikal in terms of appearance, like the orange fur and a tiara with a jewel in the center, her hostile, almost imperialistic personality is more in line with Tikal's father, Pachacamac. And although the Mesoamerican-styled city might just be a coincidence, it's highly probable that Sonic Team used the Echidna tribe concept from this book as inspiration for Tikal and the Knuckles clan in Sonic Adventure 4 years later. And it wouldn't be the last time they used an idea from comics to expand their own Echidna game lore, but that's a discussion for another time. Though I guess it's not fair to completely blame Sonic Team for stealing ideas as far as the French comic was concerned, since they did already plant the basis for Knuckles being part of an ancient race in the Japanese manual for Sonic 3. But regardless of whether you think Sonic Team actually ripped off the Knuckles clan from this comic, they did actually do their homework by traveling across several Central and South American countries to gather visual inspiration for level designs and the hub world scenery during the development of Sonic Adventure. And the cultures tied to the locations they visited also had some influence on the story of the game, which helped to flesh out Sonic's world and give an identity to the Echidnas. In particular, the Knuckles clan seems to be inspired mostly by the Maya culture of Mesoamerica, though maybe with some inspiration from the Inca culture of Peru thrown in too, but I'm not a professional when it comes to this stuff, so I'm only going off the fact that Chief Pachacamac's name does have Inca origins. Side note, people often group the Inca culture with the Aztecs, Maya, Olmecs, and other New World pre-Columbian contact cultures as being Mesoamerican, but in reality the Incas are not Mesoamerican. Mesoamerica only applies to the regions above South America up to Mexico. Anyway, everything else about the Knuckles clan appears to be Mayan, such as the pyramid in the Echidna city being modeled after Chichen Itza, the snake motif throughout Lost World being very reminiscent of serpent depictions in Maya mythology, and the temple in the Mystic Ruins resembling the one at Tikal in Guatemala, which of course is where the princess of the Knuckles clan gets her name. In the Maya language, Tikal means the place of voices, which is a rather fitting name considering that throughout the game the player mainly gets to know her and be guided through her voice, which was provided by Alara Distler, who also voiced Illumina in Sonic Shuffle, and Princess Star in Frogger the Great Quest. Tikal's only other English voice actress was Rebecca Honig from the 4Kids dub of Sonic X, who also voiced Cream the Rabbit. Honestly, I never really had as much of a problem with Cream's voice in that show as most people did, but I really didn't like Tikal's voice. The acting and performance itself were fine, but it just didn't fit the character and she came off sounding like a bratty teenager. Meanwhile, Kaori Aso provided the Japanese voice for Tikal in both the game and the anime. As far as I could find, there doesn't seem to be a lot of background info on Tikal's creation, like from interviews with Sonic Team from back in the day, nor is there much concept artwork of Tikal that has been released. The only one I could find was this sketch, which is very close to her finalized in-game appearance, except for the inclusion of this flowing cape behind her that isn't present on the 3D model. Speaking of her appearance, Tikal, like many of the other characters created for the adventure games, was designed by artist Yuji Iwakawa, and she was perhaps the most elaborately designed character in the series' history up to that point. It was only through the advent of 3D graphics and the power of the Sega Dreamcast that a design like this could be presented as it was meant to be seen. Tikal's design would just not have been feasible on the Sega Genesis since the 16-bit graphics would not have been able to capture intricate details like these chevrons in her headband or these triangle engravings on her necklace. Another notable detail about Tikal's design and how it's changed over the years is the arrangement of these beige-colored wrappings on her dreads. In Sonic Adventure 1, the ones on her right dread are placed lower than the ones on her left dread, but in Sonic Adventure 2's multiplayer and onward, they are both placed at mid-level. Personally, I prefer the SA1 arrangement as it makes her design asymmetrical, which is something that we rarely ever see in Sonic characters. In SA2's multiplayer, she also has these metal guards over her hands, and has a similar fighting style to Knuckles, suggesting that despite her pacifism, she has been trained in her clan's way of combat. While her Emerald Radar only starts working in the yellow zone, she makes up for it by having the fastest acceleration of all the Treasure Hunter characters. Unfortunately, all of her lines are reused voice clips from the first game.
The fighting's over.
Outside of SA1 and 2, Tikal has had quite a few cameos, Easter egg appearances, and references made to her in the Sonic games, mostly outside of the main series. Just to briefly go over the more significant ones, she appears in the Chow Garden minigame for Sonic Advance 1 and 2 when connecting the Game Boy Advance to Sonic Adventure DX on the GameCube. She's mentioned in Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood, both in-game and in its codex, and a Mii costume of her can be unlocked in the Mario & Sonic at the Olympic Games titles. In Sonic Generations, there's a billboard advertising a fictional movie called Chow in Space 3, The Search for Tikal, an obvious reference to Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. This is actually a continuation of a joke from the adventure games where they advertised the first two Chow in Space movies. A Chow in Space short film was made a few years ago by Tyson Hess, and Tikal even makes a cameo in Blue Spirit form. Lastly, she has also appeared in mobile games like the now-defunct Sonic Runners, and more recently in Sonic Force's Speed Battle. In addition to the games, Tikal has also appeared in the aforementioned anime Sonic X, as well as the comics from both Fleetway and Archie. And for the most part, these all tend to involve her only when adapting the storyline from Sonic Adventure. Archie in particular, though, did a few unique things with her, such as a storyline from Sonic Universe where she and Chaos fused to become Chaos, and King Shadow unleashed her to wreak havoc on Castle Mobius before being taken down by the kids of the Freedom Fighters. So far, she has not yet appeared in the comics from IDW, which is a real shame because I think that would be a golden opportunity to give her some additional backstory and explore her life in the Knuckles clan prior to the flashback events of Sonic Adventure. I kinda wanna know, what was a day in the life of a Knuckles clan princess like? But let's bring things back around to the beginning. From a gameplay perspective, Tikal worked very well as a hint system. Sure, she can make Knuckles' stages too easy by showing you the way to the Emerald Shards, but she was never annoying or assumed your level of intelligence like you didn't know what the jump button was. She should have been the mainstay hint system in my opinion. I know the whole point of these colorful question marks in the boost games is to stand out and be noticeable in case someone needs to find a hint, but Tikal's Spirit did the same trick while also not feeling unnatural to the game environment, because we know what she is and why she's there from a story perspective. It wasn't just for the benefit of the player. It was honestly really clever how she was a hint system, but she was also tied to the plot of Chaos and his history. From what we learn in the flashbacks, Tikal and her grandmother were very close, and we can infer that she raised her, as there is no mention of Tikal's mother. In fact, the Sonic Channel Japanese website claims that her mother is deceased. How and when her mother died is really anyone's guess, but after her grandmother passed away too, Tikal took it upon herself to learn the meaning of the incantation used for the Master Emerald.
I'm never to forget it. It goes like this. The servers are the 7 Chaos. Chaos is power, power enriched by the heart. The controller is the one that unifies the chaos.
She soon after started visiting the Emerald Shrine and its inhabitants, the Chow, along with their custodian, Chaos. In the past, individual Knuckles clan tribesmen were kept away from the shrine by what they described as some mysterious barrier, but unlike them, Chaos judged Tikal worthy of being a guest at the shrine, knowing that she didn't have any intention of using the emeralds for violence or personal gain. Though she was worried that her warmongering father would try to exploit the emeralds to further his conquests, despite her best efforts to convince him that there were better ways of achieving peace with other territories. But one fateful night, Pachacamac finally decided that he had waited long enough and brought along a group of warriors to seize the emeralds. Tikal was the last thing standing in their way, but ended up being powerless as they very quickly pushed her to the ground and trampled over the Chow, which angered Chaos and resulted in the demise of the clan, including Tikal when she was the only one left to seal Chaos and the Master Emerald to stop his rage from getting further out of hand and harming the rest of the world. But this only caused Chaos's confusion and hopeless anger to fester, and so, after spending the entire game chasing down the 7 emeralds, the Master Emerald shards, and parts of Chaos himself, we're able to understand those flashbacks in full context. But when everything finally culminates in Chaos achieving his perfect form and destroying Station Square, it's here where our understanding of Tikal starts to change, as it reveals that she, like all great characters, is flawed. Tikal urges Sonic that Chaos must be sealed back in the Master Emerald. Except, this scene proves that despite her 4,000 years of wisdom, she's actually wrong. She made the hasty mistake of sacrificing her own life to seal Chaos away, and after watching the past events unfold firsthand, it's Sonic who ironically isn't hasty, and realizes that repeating history would only cause Chaos's anger to become even more destructive if he were to ever break out again. And instead, the true way to alleviate Chaos's anger is for Sonic and all of his friends to open their hearts. So in a way, Tikal facilitates the meaning of the game and its main song, Open Your Heart by Crush 40, which is about understanding the travesty of others and how to help them. And this laid the groundwork for future Sonic stories where we would get a newly introduced character that facilitates the meaning of the game. Shadow in SA2, Silver to an extent in the 2006 game, and Chip in Sonic Unleashed. In fact, after Unleashed, we seem to stop getting new characters like that, and I think it's a major contributing factor as to why the games of the 2010s just feel so lackluster. It just seems like the characters, new or old, just don't have anything to teach us anymore, nor do their flaws help the story. Tikal, on the other hand, stuck very close to the theme of opening her heart to others when she tried to change her father's mind, but even she was overwhelmed by the situation and forgot how to open her heart when Chaos became angry with vengeance. I'm sure that being overwhelmed like that is a flaw that many of us can relate to. In addition, she also breaks some of the usual princess tropes. She's not some damsel who needs rescuing like Elise, and she was even willing to go against her own people, including her father, for what she believed was right. And that is why Tikal is such a great character. She embodies one of the strongest messages a Sonic game can ever tell, and can be a good role model for young girls. It's clear that Sega put a lot of thought and care into her, much like the rest of the cast besides Sonic himself, and could easily stand among them. Now, should Sega bring her back to the forefront, like another appearance in a main series game? On one hand, if you couldn't already tell, yes, I would absolutely love to see that, and like I said, she would make a good impression on female fans, especially the ones who may be too young to have grown up playing the original Sonic adventure. But on the other hand, her story with Chaos and all that has kind of been wrapped up, so it would be hard for Sega to find a justified reason in bringing her back, less so if they wanted to bring her back to life, which kinda undermines the significance of her sacrifice, and she may not have much to do interacting with the main cast in modern day. I could possibly see her being playable again if they wanted to return to adventure-style platforming gameplay, but only as a multiplayer or level replay option. Or she could just be the hint system again for reasons that I described earlier. I don't see why not, since she already knows the main characters, so you wouldn't need to explain why she'd be there to help them. As I said, we saw her clan and her father in the movie, and if they're gonna follow that up, it would be the perfect scenario to introduce Tikal. Currently, there's no sign of when Amy Rose is gonna be in the movie universe, so if Tikal beats her to it, then the Echidna plotline must be a pretty big deal, especially if the filmmakers were willing to show us them before Tails or Knuckles, even. Aside from that, the only other place I could possibly see her returning in would be the upcoming Netflix series Sonic Prime, which is described to explore other realities and hop around the multiverse, so who knows, maybe Sonic will take a quick visit to ancient times and interact with the Knuckles clan. There are some smaller topics adjacent to the Knuckles clan that I'd like to cover in other videos, like whether Knuckles and Tikal are actually related, or what really caused the near extinction of the Echidnas, so let me know in the comments if you'd like that. Along with your thoughts on Tikal. Does she really deserve more prominence in the franchise, or are you fine with her just being relegated to Easter egg status? With all that said, I hope you enjoyed this extensive overview of the history of Tikal. the Echidna who helped us learn how to open our hearts, and the greatest female Sonic the Hedgehog character,